Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are continuing our reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter number 8. Today we'll do verse 17 and we'll complete the chapter today. So verse number 17. Sahasra yuga parayantam aharyat brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam tehoratra vido janaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's a little bit technical, but it's good to know. And this knowledge which Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad-Gita is already there in the Vedas. Now, here we are learning about Brahma's lifespan, how to calculate his one day, one night, and he lives 100 years of those calculations, not our earthly calculations like we live 100 years. It's totally different. And here, before we can understand that, it's important to understand about the 4 ages. So yugas are called ages. So there is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The duration of Satya Yuga is roughly 1.8 million, or to be precise, 1,728,000 years. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport of this verse that in Satya Yuga, the characteristics of Satya Yuga was that there was no vice. There was only virtue, there was wisdom, there was religion. So everything was perfect. And people used to live for 100,000 years. 100,000 years. And the process for self-realization was meditation for at least 40,000 years. And Treta Yuga is, according to the scriptures, roughly 1,296,000 years. But as the yugas, changed from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, vice was introduced, VICE, vice was introduced. And the people in Treta Yuga lived about 10,000 years. And the process for self-realization was fire sacrifice for a very long time. Then came Dwapar Yuga. Now the duration of Dwapar Yuga is 864,000 years. And as this age started progressing, people could see that there was decline in virtue, there was decline in religion, and there was more and more vice coming in. So you can imagine what would happen when Kali Yuga comes. And then, of course, came Kali Yuga. And in Dwapar Yuga, people live for 1,000 years, and self-realization was achieved by elaborate worship in the temples, using a lot of precious stones, diamonds, rubies, pearls, very elaborate, opulent worship in the temples. Now in Kali Yuga, which is about 432,000 years in duration, There's abundance of ignorance. There was an abundance of strife. There is too much irreligion, too much vice. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam gives the excuse me, qualities of people of Kali Yuga, that they are short-lived, maximum 100 years, if lucky, maybe a little more than 100 years. And people are short-lived, they are unlucky, misguided, quarrelsome, lazy. So these are, uh, things that are found in Kali Yuga, and we are actually in Kali Yuga. Now, 5,000 years ago is when you can say it was the beginning of Kali Yuga. So from 432,000 years, now we have only 427,000 years left before Sati Yuga comes back again. So this is a cycle of these 4 yugas. So today's verse says, by human calculation, if we multiply these, so roughly it's about 5.3 or 5.4 million years, all the number of years taken of all the 4 yugas. Now he says multiply that with 1,000 times, like 1,000 ages like this. That is only one day of Brahma. That many millions of years is only one day. That same number of years is the night of Brahma. So, and Brahma lives for 100 years of that calculation. So when we multiply these ages by 1,000, one day and one night, and 100 years, such 100 years, his age, Brahma's age, is roughly 311 trillion 40 billion years of our calculation. Now, even though Brahma lives for such a long time according to our calculation, he still has to die. We already learned a verse where Krishna says, "A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna," that even though one may achieve Brahma Loka, still one has to come down. So even Brahma has to die. So we can see from this verse that, I know it's very technical, but we get an idea that how vast is the Vedic knowledge. They have precise knowledge. They have absolute knowledge that gives us an idea about where we are. We are in the material world, what are heavenly planets, and what is above the heavenly planets, which is the spiritual world. Now, in verse number 18, Krishna says, at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities, now remember, it says all living entities. It's not talking about human beings. All living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. So basically, there are two kinds, you can say, of annihilation: partial and complete. So partial is, it's not exactly an annihilation, but kind of unmanifest of everything that is there now. Now, right now, everything is manifest in front of us. We see the material nature, we see the trees and everything. We see birds, insects, we see human beings, we see so many types of trees, living entities. It's all manifest. When? Because it is the daytime of Brahma. Now, when Brahma's nighttime will come, that is when all of us, all living entities, everything will be unmanifest. And this happens again and again. So again, Brahma's day will come, manifest. Night will come, unmanifest. So it's like, the cycle is going on and on and on. So the question arises, what happens in the unmanifest stage? Where are we? We have to give up these bodies when it is nighttime of Brahma. So according to the scriptures, the spirit souls of all living entities, they enter into the body of Lord Vishnu. and they stay there without a body. Then when it is daytime of Brahma, then they are again manifest, they are given bodies based on their past karma. Say, for instance, I was a dog, I was behaving like a dog, obviously. So in my next life, I will not become a human being. So I will just continue with my karma. So Srila Prabhupada says that those who are intelligent people, when they hear about this, manifest, unmanifest, going into Vishnu's body, coming out again and going up and coming down, intelligent people will break this cycle. They wouldn't want to go through this cycle again and again and again. In verse number 19, Krishna tells Arjuna, again and again when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Helplessly. So if we are intelligent, we will think, why should we be in a helpless condition? We should perform Bhakti Yoga so that we break this cycle. And we do not keep getting another body, another body, another body. No, we must somehow or the other stop going up and down. Instead, transfer ourselves to the spiritual world, which is called Vaikuntha. Kuntha means anxiety. Vaikuntha means no anxiety. Where there is no anxiety at all, that is the place we want to go. Now in verse number 20, Krishna tells Arjuna, yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. That means he's talking of something beyond this material world. He says it is supreme and it is never annihilated. So that gives us an indication material world is temporary. It has to get annihilated, destroyed, and finished. When all this world is annihilated, Krishna says that part remains as it is, which means he's saying when the material world gets annihilated, spiritual world stays the same. Nothing happens to the spiritual world. Obviously, because it's Krishna's superior spiritual energy. It is eternal. There are no material changes over there. There is no annihilation at all. That is his spiritual world. So we can see that Krishna is gradually introducing us to his spiritual world, trying to open the window to the spiritual world so that we can get an idea, what does it look like? What is inside there? And what will be the benefit of me going to the spiritual world? And he continues that in verse 21. He says, that which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. So you see how many points he's giving us in just one verse. First of all, he's saying that it is not just me who's saying that, but it's the Vedantists. It's those who have studied the Vedas. They are the ones who are also proclaiming that whatever is there, which is infallible, cannot be destroyed, and that is the supreme destination. And he says, those who reach there, they never return to this temporary material world. And Krishna says, that is my supreme abode. In fact, that supreme abode of Krishna is known as Chintamani Dham. It is a beautiful beautiful palace of touchstones. There are desire trees where you just stand next to the desire tree, and whatever your desires are, they are fulfilled. For instance, I'm standing in front of the desire tree and I feel like eating mangoes. Mangoes will drop from there. And then I say, oh, well, now I need some apples. There'll be apples. And then I say, I want some diamonds. So there'll be a shower of diamonds. Those kind of desire trees are there in the spiritual abode of Krishna. Now, Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead, and he being the greatest of the greatest, he's the greatest of all. He is present in his supreme abode, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, or Krishna Loka also it's called. And he's all pervading, he's everywhere, and still he is within the heart of each and every one of us. In every living entity's heart is situated Krishna as the super soul. So just like he is expanding himself to be situated in our hearts as super soul, he is also expanding himself as his abode. That is his spiritual energy, and he's present everywhere simultaneously. That is what he's talking about. So this also gives us an indication that he is the Supreme Lord. There is no one greater than him. There's no one more powerful than him. And those who want to attain that abode have to pay a price. And the price is unalloyed devotional service to him. Once we start practicing Bhakti Yoga with full sincerity, with firm faith and seriousness also, and make Bhakti Yoga our goal in life, and gradually start progressing based on knowledge under the guidance of a guru, a bona fide spiritual teacher, then what will happen? We will start experiencing spiritual bliss, and gradually will become qualified to go back to that supreme abode, which is known as Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan. These are the benefits of Bhakti Yoga. We attain the supreme abode, which means we attain permanent happiness. And when there is permanent happiness, automatically the person is very peaceful. And when it says, Krishna says, once you come there, you do not return back into this material world, that means we have broken the cycle of birth and death. We have, achieved our destination, and there is nothing more to be achieved. So this is what he's talking about, that this is how we will be able to achieve the supreme destination. Now, verse 23 to about verse 27 onwards, Krishna starts explaining on the different times when people leave their bodies, when the spirit soul leaves at different times. Now, based on what time the soul leaves the body, accordingly, the destination also is decided. If it is an inauspicious moment, then a person comes back into this material world. For instance, Krishna tells Arjuna, if a person leaves the body when there is light, then a person does not come back. When a person leaves the body when it is dark, then the person comes back. Or if a person leaves the body during the fortnight of waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun is traveling to the north, then it's different. See, otherwise one come back. Now the mystic yogis, they are so advanced in their mystic yoga that they can make all these arrangements, when to leave the body, when there is light, it's auspicious, it's, that whether it is fortnight of waxing moon or waning moon, is the sun traveling the north or to the south. See, so all these considerations have to be taken into consideration. If one does not have knowledge about all this, And if one has not practiced mystic yoga for many, many years, it'll not be possible to make these arrangements, or it'll not be possible to, push the life air on towards the head. So Krishna is giving knowledge through Arjuna to us, just so that we can understand that this process is very difficult, the process of mystic yoga. There are two ways of passing, or leaving the body. One is in the light and one is in the darkness. But Krishna also says, if one is engaged in my unalloyed devotion, then there's no need to worry, because then he gives us a guarantee that if we surrender to his instructions, if we start following the process of Bhakti Yoga as mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita, then based on our surrender, Krishna will make the arrangements that we are not bewildered at the time of death, and we can remember him, and he'll make the arrangements so that after leaving the body, we go to the supreme abode. Whereas the yogis, they have to work very, very hard. Let me tell you, they have to work really very hard. Why? Because they have to, first of all, practice, and that to practice in a secluded place, like in the forest, or a place where there is no disturbance, no iPhones, no tablets, no laptops, no one around, no family, nothing. Because you need a lot of concentration to be a mystic yogi, because there has to be control of the breath. They have to learn how to control the breathing in and breathing out, and they have to consider the time. So Krishna is saying, why take all that risk? Why go through all those austerities and then not be sure whether we'll be successful at the time of death or not? It's a lot of austerity. Now, even to, for instance, practice Bhakti Yoga, there is austerity involved, of course, but not like the mystic yogis. With mystic yogis, the end is not sure. But here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving us a guarantee that if we practice Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti means devotion. If we practice, what is yoga? Yoga is connecting with the Supreme Lord through devotion. So when we start doing that, then Krishna guarantees that we will be successful. So devotees who are practicing are not worried at all. Why? Because they are always fixed in consciousness of the Supreme Lord. So here, Krishna is advising Arjuna, do not be so disturbed by all these different paths. Just like in yoga, right? We have learned there is karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, there's this mystic yoga, then there is bhakti yoga, which is devotional service. So he's saying, do not get so disturbed by all these paths. Best is you please get absorbed in my consciousness, in Krishna consciousness. And the very first step of being absorbed in Krishna's consciousness is chanting his holy names, because the spiritual sound vibrations are so potent, they are so powerful that they help us to control our mind. We may try, we have noticed this, over the years, when we are trying to do something, we are trying to maybe start a business, take up a job, get married, or whatever. We want to learn to dance or music or software, whatever it may be. It involves a lot of absorption. It involves our time, our commitment, our seriousness in doing what we are doing, and also being very disciplined. Say, for instance, when I was young, I was very fond of dancing, the Indian classical dancing. So my parents enrolled me in the dance class. So they were paying for those dance classes. So it was my responsibility that I went to the dance class every evening and I learned it. And then when I came home, I practiced it. That's called discipline. I cannot just go there, have a look, have some fun time, and come back and not do anything about it. Then I'm not going to learn that art. So similarly, even excuse me, even performing bhakti yoga is an art. It's not so simple. It is simple, yet it is not simple, in the sense, if one has that firm faith that yes, if Krishna is telling us in the Bhagavad-Gita, do bhakti yoga and you will attain permanent happiness. Excuse me. Then when we follow on that path, we follow those instructions. And the first thing he says is, please chant the holy names. And he's also given us the mantra. That's why it's called mantra meditation. We meditate on those sound vibrations. We say them aloud so that those sound vibrations, they enter our ears and they purify our hearts. Purify our hearts of whatever may be in there, whether it is lust, anger, greed, pride, hatred, envy, whatever may be there in whatever degree, that starts getting cleansing out. And then the heart is so pure. It's like a clean mirror where we can see our reflection, where we can actually realize ourselves that I am not this body, but I am a spirit soul, and spirit soul never dies. The spirit soul is eternal. It is a part of Krishna. He says, Mamai Vamsha Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mamai Amsha. Amsha means part. Mamai means mind. Krishna says all living entities, it doesn't matter what body they have, whether it's an animal, bird, human, it doesn't matter. They are all my parts, he says. All of them, and they are sanatana, which means they are eternal. They never die. It's just the change of body from one body to another. So when we chant the holy names, it helps us to control our mind. It helps us to become more disciplined, and then it helps us to take on more knowledge and continue on this path of devotional service. Now, in the very last verse of this chapter, number 8, which is verse number 28, Krishna gives the benefits of performing bhakti yoga. Now Krishna, because he's our supreme father, he knows how our minds work. He knows we human beings like to look for benefits, like especially ladies, when they see there is a sale, buy one, get one free, immediately they'll run to the mall and say, oh, I'm getting one free, so let me buy one and I get one free. We're looking for benefits. There is this sentence that is very commonly used. Excuse me. It's called, what's in it for me? Okay. If you want me to be your friend, what's in it for me? What benefit am I going to get by being your friend? This is how the mind calculates. Oh, if I'm a friend of so-and-so, then the benefits I will get is maybe I'll get a discount at a store, or maybe, I'll get a ride, back and forth from work, or, what are the benefits? Or if I'm a friend with a doctor, I'll get free medicines, or free consultation, so the mind starts working so fast. What are the benefits? So Krishna knows that, and that's why he's giving us a list of benefits of performing bhakti yoga. He says, when one performs bhakti yoga, now there are different aspects to bhakti yoga. There are 9 processes of bhakti yoga: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. These are the 9 processes of devotional service, which is bhakti yoga. And the first one is Shravanam, means hearing. Kirtanam means chanting. Smaranam means remembering. So like these are the different limbs of Bhakti Yoga. And it starts with Shravanam. So Krishna says that when one starts performing this Bhakti Yoga, it is as good as they have studied all the Vedas. Now we all know Vedas are so vast. We can spend our entire lifetime reading them and still not be able to finish them because they are so vast. There was one big Veda which was divided into 4 parts. So we've heard about all that, and thousands and thousands and thousands of verses in there. So much knowledge. So if we perform Bhakti Yoga, it's as good as we have studied the Vedas. It's as good as we perform fire sacrifices without even performing them. It is as good as we have given a lot of charity. Now, that doesn't mean we don't give charity. We become stingy and we say, I'm doing mantra meditation, so I don't need to give charity. Of course, when we go to chapter number 17 and 18, which is towards the end of Bhagavad-Gita, we will see, excuse me, I'm just recovering from the flu. We will hear in those chapters how to give charity, in what mode, whether it is goodness, passion, or ignorance. Krishna says, don't give charity in any of those modes. Give it in the mode of pure goodness. Now we learn about different modes in chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, but for right now, we can understand Krishna is saying no need to give charity. And it is as good as one has performed many austerities, fruitive activities. And the best part, at the end of life, that devotee who's been practicing Bhakti Yoga sincerely and seriously will go back to the supreme abode. These are the benefits of performing Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is so very simple. It starts with hearing, which we are doing now. We are hearing from the Bhagavad Gita. Then the next step is to chant. That is mantra meditation, where we, loudly chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We do this meditation loud enough so we can hear those sound vibrations. And then automatically that'll bring us to the stage of remembering Krishna all the time. So you see, this is basically the summary of chapter 7 and 8 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is just talking about Bhakti Yoga. And very important to understand is that Bhakti Yoga cannot be performed randomly or, based on speculations. Oh, in my opinion, this is what is Bhakti Yoga. Or according to me, Bhakti Yoga means this, this, and this. No. It has to be based on bona fide scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita, and it should be under the guidance of a guru. So if one has just a little bit of faith, that's good enough to start Bhakti Yoga. If someone has a little bit of faith that Bhagavad Gita is the summary of the Vedas, it's the essence of the Vedas, it is being spoken by the Supreme Lord Krishna himself, and this scripture, Bhagavad Gita, is 120 million years old. It's nothing new. So if one has that little faith, then one can start hearing Bhagavad Gita and gradually start putting it into practice, because it's the knowledge that will remove all the misgivings we may have in our lives. And it'll help us also finally to attain the supreme destination, which we are all looking forward to, because I don't think anyone in this material world can say, I am 100% happy. I am happy all the time. I am peaceful all the time. I have no miseries in my life. I am not growing old. It's been 10 years and I'm still 20 years old. No, no one can say that. Everyone's body is growing old every second, every minute. You see, we can look at our own selves, look at our picture when we were 5 years old. Do we look like that now? Definitely not. We have grown so much. We have grown in height, in shape, in weight, whatever it may be. So we are growing old day by day. So no one can say, I'm not growing old. No one can say, I am not falling sick. I have never fallen sick. I'm never going to fall sick. No one can say, I'm never going to die. There's no guarantee at all, right? So Bhagavad Gita teaches us in a very simple step by step, giving us formulas. Like in chapter 5, we got the formula which is called the peace formula, how to be peaceful in this material world. This is what we learned, the very last verse, number 29 of chapter number 5, which is karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So this is how excuse me, this is how step by step we can progress on this path of Bhakti Yoga. So this is how this chapter ends. And if anyone has any questions or have any comments, you are very welcome